Hi, I'm Stephen Wener with Whistle Realty, brokered by EXP. I've been in real estate since 1993 and selling strong ever since then. I have a fantastic guest that I'm going to be introducing, Mr. Gabe Candea with Perch Wealth. How you doing, Gabe?
I'm doing well. How about you, Steve?
I'm doing awesome. I'm really excited to have Gabe with us today because there are a few things that I want to teach you about tax strategies when it comes to maintaining wealth through real estate. So what Gabe does is he is someone that actually works in a 1031 exchange arena, and he also does something called DSTs. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about, honestly, was what is the number one wealth creator in the United States or North America for people?
We all know that. It's real estate.
It is real estate. What are the hesitations that people normally have when they've accumulated wealth with their real estate? What problems have you actually seen people experience?
So, as you mentioned, real estate is the number one wealth creator. There are more millionaires from real estate than any other asset class, whether it's owning a business or anything along those lines. But when it comes to real estate, buying and holding real estate is a fantastic way to go about that. I come in once they've already held on to that real estate has appreciated, their wealth has begun to grow, and they want to figure out what are their next options and what they should do next.
So what I find really fascinating is there's a lot of people that were, let's say, smart enough to buy a piece of property and hold on.
That's right.
The thing that most people don't understand is how to keep their wealth and trade up or sell a piece of property and replace. So that's where the 1031 comes in, correct?
That's right. We're all about preserving wealth.
And can you explain how a 1031 works, just the meat and potatoes, so that people have an overview of how they can save some money as well?
Absolutely. You know, the 1031 exchange program, it's a section 1031 of the IRS code, okay? First of all, there's 70,000 pages of the IRS code. This is certainly the best section, I'm telling you right now. And it's been around for over 100 years, and for good reason, in one form or another. It preserves wealth, it builds the economy, and allows people to continue to get wealthy. And it creates a lot of jobs for a lot of people. The 1031 is something that I've become an expert at, but no one else should really become an expert at, really. It's something that most people, if they do it once every 10, maybe 20 years, if at all.
Okay.
So no need to, and we'll go over some of the do's and don'ts, but there's no need to become an expert on it. But some of the do's and don'ts are, remember, the 1031 exchange is a process. What it allows you to do is to trade property without paying any taxes. And that's a huge benefit, massive benefit. There are a few rules you need to kind of abide by.
Yep.
You know, to go over a few of them, one is you have to replace the value of the property. So if you sold $1 million property, you have to buy at least $1 million property, okay? The government doesn't want you to take any chips off the table. They want you to keep that money in the economy, and in exchange for that, they give you a massive tax benefit, and I think that's a fair deal.
Okay.
Other rules to consider are the timeline. This is the one that scares most people. When you are selling a property, we call that the relinquished property or the down leg property.
Yep.
On that day of closing, you have 45 days to identify your next property you're going to purchase, which we call the replacement property or the up leg property.
Okay.
So 45 days, not a lot of time. You actually have a few more months after that to close, but the 45 is the most important. So, you know, let's talk about this for a second. You go through your whole transaction selling your property. You close on that property. You're going to have that money in the bank or in the escrow, and it's going to be great, but you can go out hunting for a loaded weapon with going out and finding that next property. But if you kind of go through the steps here, that's going to be looking for the property. That's going to be writing offers on property, getting the offers accepted, going through due diligence. That's going to be physical inspection. That's going to be title records, legal, etc. And then finally, financing approval. So all those things need to happen in 45 days.
Wow.
And I named them all because there are a lot of other parties involved. You have escrow officers, you have the other agents, you have banks, you have all these people who are going to, if they slow your process down at all, there's a good chance you're going to be crossing your fingers at the 45th day, and you're not going to have anything tightened up.
Wow.
And so where we come in is to make sure that there is going to be a solution there. Go for that primary target. Make sure that we can actually help you. You may have some insurance policies to make sure your exchange doesn't get blown.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's where DSTs also come in, right? Based on your wealth strategy, because a lot of people don't really know about DSTs. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's something that's fairly new. So DST, what does it stand for? It's a Delaware Statutory Trust. Terrible name. It's a great solution. Awful name. And so what it is, it's a business trust out of Delaware. It's actually fairly new. It was codified in 2004. What makes it so special is that the IRS allows you to do a 1031 into this structure. It's at the end of the day, it's a structure of holding real estate.
And that's it. What is it, so people understand? Because it's still real estate related.
Yes.
But you're not just buying a single tangible asset like the house you had or the multifamily apartment you had, right? So what are they buying into with a DST?
Right. So think about, you can own real estate in your name. You can own real estate in a trust. You can own it in an LLC or a corporation. Well, a Delaware statutory trust is similar. It's just a structure that holds the real estate. There's always an underlying asset.
Okay.
And so this is a specific structure that the IRS says you can invest in. And what makes it different is that you can't invest in a lot of other structures like a real estate investment trust. You can't invest in a REIT.
Okay.
You can't invest in with a 1031, you can't invest in a limited partnership. If Steve, you and I found a property and we said, hey, we can find some investors and this is going to be a fantastic investment, we can't find 1031 money. It won't be eligible.
Interesting.
So it's one of the few syndicated options for passive investment and passive income that you can actually invest in and do a 1031 into.
So what about all the write-offs, depreciation, things like that you would normally think of when you own a traditional home or something like that? That's an investment property. Does that apply in the
Absolutely.
DST world?
Absolutely.
Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So you get all the same benefits that you would with owning property direct. We call it owning property direct.
Really?
If you own shares of a REIT, if you own stocks and bonds, all that income is not sheltered. But if you own a DST, you are considered a percentage owner of that property, so you get all the passive benefits. So that's going to be depreciation and all those benefits that are tax benefits for you in your property, and you still get the stepped up in basis, which is the most important part.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And for those of you that are hanging on to property and thinking you never want to part with it, there is something that Gabe and I were talking about off camera, which is called a return on equity.
That's right.
So somebody has, let's just call it a misconception of what their home is really bringing in, right? Let's talk about a return on equity and demystify this. Like, I've got this, I got it, I don't need anything else. Just give us a quick example, because I think that's massive.
I believe,
right?
I'm in the same boat.
And it helps people with additional return on investment that they never even thought that they could attain, especially if you're in California. It depends on what state you're in, but we have rent control in San Diego, so there's only so much you can raise the rents, right? So if you're an entrepreneur and you own multiple properties, depending on where you are, you might not be able to get the greatest return. So please talk about those two things.
Absolutely. So return on equity is something I talk to people about every single day. And like you mentioned, it's a misconception. If I talk to people about their investment, they're going to tell me, I've made multiple times on my money, I'm getting 20, 30% return on my money, etc. And I say, listen, I get it. You've done a fantastic job, and I congratulate you for that. However, let's draw a line in the sand, and let's say, what are you getting from that property after all expenses? So
Yep.
if it's a rental property and you're collecting rents, you're still going to have to pay taxes, you're going to have to pay insurance, you're going to have to pay for management fees, vacancy,
right.
Maintenance expenses, and gosh, if you actually value your time, maybe you should throw that in here too. So
Yeah.
if you have that net income at the end of the day, you take that number, you divide it by what it's worth, all right? And they call you Steve and say, Steve, what's my property worth? And then you take that number. It's a simple calculation. It's net income divided by the value of the property. That's your return on equity. And oftentimes, if you're in California at all, if you have a rental property, do this calculation. It's probably between 2 and 3% return on equity, okay? And so if for a DST, let's say, going back to that example, if you sold $1 million property,
Yeah.
what I would do is I'd say, what's great about DSTs is that you can do a whole menu of options. And so what does that mean? Well, when you do a DST, we can make a portfolio. You can go from all your eggs in that one basket and do multiple properties all at once. And so once again, $1 million property. What I would do is someone came to me and they said, you know what, Gabe, I want to be in a diversified portfolio. Well, we got this 400-unit multifamily property in Austin, Texas. Okay, it was built in 2020. It's a fantastic property. Let's put 250 into that one. Okay, the next one's going to be portfolio of self-storage facilities in South Florida. Okay, Self-storage is one of the most recession-resilient products out there, asset classes. The next one we're going to do senior living in New Jersey, right? Not everyone from New York is moving to Florida.
Sure. Yeah.
What I love about senior living is that as an asset class, I believe the last term I heard was that the oldest baby boomer is 76 years old, okay? The average person in senior living is 74. That entire generation, one of the largest generations we've had, is going into this asset class.
It's all moving over there.
And if you think we have a problem with housing in this country, we have a massive problem with supply of senior living.
Wow.
So as an asset class, it's really great to invest in. So we'll do another 250 in that one, all right? The last one, maybe we'll do 250 in a basket of triple nets. What is a triple net? These are properties that are being owned and are being operated by corporate companies. We're talking about CVS, Walgreens, Walmart. Their rent payments are actually guaranteed by the corporations.
Secure.
I mean, you can depend on those rent payments for sure. So here we are at a diversified portfolio, and if I can get that diversified portfolio to bring in an average between 5 and 6%, and you just figured out that you're getting 2 or 3% on your equity, and once again, you're trading that equity for another investment, I just doubled your income.
And well, what about this? If they've owned the property forever, right? They might have already depreciated it to zero. So now if they move into the DST, do they get the depreciation again?
You get if you have a stepped up in base, well actually what happens is some of the products are leveraged. And so if you have a leveraged product with a larger value, you will get increased depreciation, which is more tax shelter.
Right.
And then on top of that, if you end up giving those properties to your heirs, you get a step up in basis. And so you can actually potentially eliminate taxes altogether.
So that's what I find so fascinating about bringing in experts like Gabe is normally we think about 1031 exchange, do we even want to part with our real estate? But depending on what you're attempting to do and if you're wanting to leave behind legacy and also for the later years in your life to collect as much as possible versus what you're doing right now. Gabe does have a wealth management background. He's licensed as well, right?
That's right.
So the nice things are Gabe isn't just pushing a product of DST or 1031. Gabe is an advisor. One of the things that I know you wanted to offer our listeners today was also a one-page performa.
That's right.
So please explain why they need to reach out to you, how they can reach out to you, and why that performa is something that everybody should literally have because you made it, let's just call it foolproof.
That's right.
So
I've been in the investment real estate game for over 12 years. I have a proprietary pro forma. I'm happy to share it. It's plug and play. You put all the information that you have for your property. It does spit out a number of what you're getting on that property, and that's where you can start making informed decisions of saying, hey, can I do better? What are my options? You know, the goal here for me is we're trying to preserve wealth. We're trying to maximize retirement income, and we're also trying to reduce management responsibilities down to zero. So that's really incredible. And then obviously deferring taxes.
Yeah. So how can people reach out to you to get a copy of that performa?
Gabe Candea, Perch Wealth. My phone number is 619-243-9892. My email is gcandea@perchwealth. That's GCANDEA at PERCHwealth, WEALTH.com.
Right. It's a mouthful, but you get to pause, rewind, and rewatch, right? So Gabe, this was awesome.
Hey, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
And for all of those listening, again, real estate is that vehicle. I've been owning real estate for decades. It's helped me, my family, my future, and it's something that I can leave over to my kids. Obviously, Gabe is dealing with people on that basis every day, and his job is to maximize what you're able to earn, what you can leave behind, and overall, just take it easy, because the retirement income is something I think we're all looking for. So again, I'm Stephen Wener of Whistle Realty, brokered by EXP. I appreciate you watching. Thank you.